This is Dixon Creek, or this is Dixon Creek. Right now you can see it's hidden by the thick growth on either side, but you can see the water down there. You might see some water skeeters skimming around on the surface. And about 5 linear miles this way or less, this rises around the Timberhill area where we've been before, and it goes through the basic suburban or residential neighborhoods of Corvallis. And here you can see it's going underneath this bridge. And let's look at it over here. Then we're going to follow it a ways. Right up there, the creek takes a right turn, and along here you can see there's a lot of blackberries. Invasive, but also there's a lot of pollinators on there. And then down there you can see there's some obstruction. The creek is moving pretty slow at this point. And I'm going to follow to see where that right turn takes the creek. You might already be asking, a right turn in a creek at right angles? And we'll explore that as we go through this neighborhood and follow Dixon Creek, a small creek in Corvallis. Incidentally, this neighborhood, a pretty typical residential neighborhood, based on its age, I have a guess about it, because except for this empty lot, it's pretty packed with a lot of houses that look 50s through 70s, a lot of duplexes and ranch homes, stuff like that, interspersed among craftsman's homes, maybe something a little bit older. My guess is that until the 1920s or 1930s, these were farm homes, or at least homes with like horses outside and stuff, and then it got infilled. So you'll see a mixture of houses in a neighborhood like that. But that's not our main point. Our main point is to look north at that creek. Again, not my main point, but that apartment building just screams 1970s to me. Okay, we're going to be going down this way and then circling back just a little. So we kind of did a little U-turn. Previously we were a few blocks this way, and this line of trees is the creek, and we'll see what's going on there. So again, pretty still water here, and to see more of it, I'm going to walk into this parking lot. We have a lot of alder trees, which are really typical riparian trees in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of Oregon ash. So we still have a lot of riparian trees here. And one thing that we are not going to be able to see today, but I have seen in the past, is that trees have been wrapped here to prevent beavers. And I actually have seen beaver in this creek. Now, this isn't a typical, dam building beaver area, but from what I understand, beavers can adjust. And if you look through here, this is almost like a ditch. In fact, right now we can't look through here because it's so thick. And so you might not think like an area like this is a typically good place for wildlife. The thing though is, if you look at like a typical beautiful serene mountain stream, especially in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of times those are places that are very shaded, have a lot of pine trees. And an area like this has a lot of flowering plants. Even if they're invasive, they attract pollinators, small insects, and then you have an entire food web based around spiders and birds, rodents, you have berries. So an area like this, even though it's basically a ditch in a residential neighborhood, this could be much more biologically productive than, the most beautiful, serene mountain stream cascading through the shady glens of the Cascades, etc. And keep that in mind as we go along. And it's kind of funny because right now we can't see a lot, but that is because we can see a lot. There's so many plants we can't really get a good view of what's going on here. It's starting to dry out there, but you can still see things are very green along a water course like this. Also, obviously, this is not its natural course. It's been channelized. Like I said, it takes 2 right angles there that are pretty sharp. So it's been channelized for flood control and purposes like that, which in the history of the Pacific Northwest, a lot of this eliminating wetlands and channelizing creeks has not been as good at flood control as people thought. Anyway, now I'm going to cross and follow it some more. So we cross the road and it follows along here. Here's the new LBC building. Interestingly, this creek a while up does go through Porter Park. I have a video of that. And it's similar to creeks like Dunawai Creek and Oak Creek that I have other videos for. all of these are creeks that are pretty short range, like 4 or 5 miles from head to mouth. But because this area is very biologically productive, they're very important at anchoring ecosystems, even though, you know, here with just like this little scrappy road, a scrappy river next to the road. Okay, so this way goes to Washington Park, and then I'm going to try to see if I can find the outlet of this creek into the Willamette. So, unrelated or related distantly, we looked at the bridge closure, and as you can see, there's traffic back up here, and that's because to get out of town, you can't go east. You have to go south and then go all the way around. So that's why we have this line of cars. And that is related to some other things I'll talk about. Well, what do we have here? This is Dixon Creek, and it is next to the Corvallis Municipal Facility Center, which also includes some type of wastewater treatment plant, and also the bus depot. And I don't think there's any access to actually get too close to the creek, but this is where it comes out after it's been underground for some while. And it's down there, and as you can see, it's still very thick with lots of plants. And right across the road is the Willamette River, and after it passes through this culvert here, I'm going to see if there's any way we can see where it enters the river. Might be dangerous and illegal, but I'm going to see if there is a legal and safe way to access the actual place where the creek joins the river. So the answer seems to be somewhere down there, and I could get a little bit closer, but not substantially closer. There's somebody taking a U-turn because they don't want to get in the traffic jam. So this is where the creek joins the Willamette, through this culvert, over some rocks, into the Willamette, and it's just a stop along the highway. And the reason I wanted to show that specifically is that a lot of times people in Oregon, stereotypically in reality, are very concerned with preserving nature, but a lot of times they think of it as being nature somewhere out there, a perfectly preserved place that you go and things are magically different. And here we have a creek that naturally would be a natural creek, but people wouldn't think of it as natural, and they don't mind that it joins the river under a culvert. Well, I'm sure some people mind. So I guess my point is that for a lot of people, nature is a place you go, separate from your normal activities. But here we have a creek that's part of everybody's normal life. So many people drive over this creek, see it, live by it, but they probably don't think of it as a part of nature, even though in its early history and even now, it is very biologically important. So that's kind of my message and why I went for this big old walk in the heat and got stuck on this highway. And having made that point, I'm going to go back home.